Imagine waking up in a world that looks almost identical to the one you know, but everything is subtly, terrifyingly different. This is a story of a woman who woke up in a parallel universe, and no one believed her. It was an ordinary Thursday morning when Lily Hayes woke up, except it wasn't. The moment she opened her eyes, something felt off. She had always been an early riser, but today she felt a strange sense of disorientation, as if the world around her had shifted overnight. Her apartment, which she had lived in for the past 5 years, looked unfamiliar. The air smelled different. The light coming through the window was just a little bit brighter, and the city noises outside sounded a little too distant, like she was in a dream. Lily sat up in bed, rubbing her eyes, trying to shake off the sense of confusion. Maybe I'm still half asleep, she thought to herself. She swung her legs over the side of the bed and placed them on the cold wooden floor. But the moment her feet touched the ground, her confusion deepened. The floor beneath her felt different, warmer, and there was an odd hum in the air, like the energy in the room wasn't quite right. She walked to the bathroom, hoping that splashing some cold water on her face would wake her up. But as she looked in the mirror, her breath caught in her throat. The reflection staring back at her was Hayes, but it wasn't. Her face looked the same, but there was something in her eyes, a strange emptiness, as though she hadn't really been living the life she thought she had. Lily shook her head, trying to dismiss the strange feeling. She washed her face and made her way to the kitchen, hoping a cup of coffee would do the trick. But when she opened the fridge, she froze. There, on the top shelf, was a carton of milk labeled low-fat milk with omega-3. She always bought full-fat milk. It was a small detail, but something about it sent a chill down her spine. She turned around, scanning the kitchen for anything else that seemed out of place. The cabinets, the appliances, all of it looked the same. But then, her eyes landed on a family photo on the counter. It was a picture of her, her parents, and her younger brother at a family barbecue. She remembered the moment perfectly. It was taken 3 years ago, before her mother had passed away. But there was something strange about the photo. It wasn't the people, it was the date. Written in the corner of the photo was 2018. Lily froze, her heart pounding in her chest. That's impossible. The photo had been taken in 2020, 2 years after her mother's death. But here it was, clearly marked with 2018. She grabbed the photo and stared at it, trying to make sense of it, but nothing made sense. The world around her felt wrong. Her head began to spin. Her legs gave way beneath her, and she sank to the floor, gripping the photo tightly in her hand. Her mind raced with questions, but she couldn't find any answers. It was as though she had slipped into a parallel universe, one where small details were different, but the bigger picture was nearly the same. Lily's heart raced as she tried to make sense of what was happening. After a few deep breaths, she managed to stand up. Her mind was foggy, but she knew she had to get out of the apartment. She needed to clear her head and try to figure out what was going on. She grabbed her purse and keys, planning to take a walk around the block. Maybe some fresh air would help. But as she stepped out of her apartment and into the hallway, she noticed something else strange. The neighbor's door was open, something that had never happened before. She had lived in the building for years and knew her neighbors well, but she had never seen their door jar. Curious, she approached and peeked inside. The apartment was empty, but the furniture looked different. The layout was the same, but the colors and the decorations were all wrong. Had they moved out? But Lily was sure she had seen them just a few days ago. Shaking her head, she stepped back and walked down the hallway. She reached the elevator and pressed a button, waiting for it to arrive. When it did, she stepped inside, but the moment the doors closed, something else struck her as strange. The elevator button labels were in a completely different order. It's like they'd been rearranged, she thought. She tried to convince herself it was all just in her head, that she was overthinking things, but the unease in her stomach kept growing. She finally arrived downstairs and stepped out into the streets of her neighborhood. The street looked the same. Same old coffee shop on the corner, same florist across the street. But as she walked past the bakery she frequented every morning, she noticed a small sign hanging in the window that read, "New Management." The bakery had been run by Mrs. Benson for as long as Lily could remember. But now, the owner's name was someone else. The same bakery, but a different name. Confused and anxious, Lily decided to head to her usual coffee shop. It was the one place she always visited to start her day. When she walked inside, the barista behind the counter smiled at her. She smiled back, but then froze. She knew this barista. His name was Danny, and they'd shared countless conversations over the years. But today, he didn't seem to recognize her. "Can I help you?" Danny asked, his smile polite but distant. Lily opened her mouth to speak, but her voice caught in her throat. How could he not remember me? She had been here every morning for years, yet today, he acted like they had never met. She stood frozen, her mind reeling, before she forced herself to speak. Yes, I'll have my usual," she stammered. He nodded and prepared her coffee without saying another word. She sat down at her usual table, trying to digest the flood of confusion that had overtaken her. As she sipped her coffee, she realized she was no longer certain of anything. This was her neighborhood, her city, her life, but it wasn't. Over the next few days, Lily's confusion only deepened. Every time she tried to ask someone about the strange changes she was noticing, they looked at her like she was crazy. Her friends and family were no help either. They simply shrugged off her concerns or laughed them off as a result of stress or bad night's sleep. "Lily, you're just overthinking things. It's not that big of a deal," her best friend, Jessica, told her over lunch one afternoon. "Maybe you just need to take a break, get some rest. You've been working so much lately." But Lily wasn't tired. She wasn't stressed. She was certain that something had changed, something huge and unexplainable. Her world, the world she thought she knew, had somehow split, and she was stuck in a version of it where nothing made sense. Frustrated, Lily decided to research the phenomenon on her own. She spent hours reading articles online about parallel universes, dimensional rifts, and the multiverse theory. She even reached out to paranormal forums and chat groups, but most people dismissed her claims. A few suggested that she might be experiencing some kind of dissociative disorder, but Lily knew this wasn't in her head. She wasn't imagining things. This was real. Then, one night, after scrolling through endless articles, she stumbled upon a theory that sent a shiver down her spine. It was a post on a fringe science website about glitches in the Matrix. The theory suggested that some people, just like her, could unknowingly slip into parallel universes, where small differences occurred but the larger structures remained the same. There were stories of people waking up in strange versions of their lives, where things like dates, names, and even people were different, yet no one believed them. Lily's heart pounded as she read. It was as though the post was describing her exact experience. But as she finished reading, a sinking feeling settled in her stomach. What if the world she had woken up in wasn't real? What if it was just a strange, twisted version of her reality? Lily reached a breaking point. She couldn't keep living in a world where no one believed her. Her friends, her family, even the people she had known for years, all of them were acting as if nothing had changed. Desperate for answers, she decided to confront her family about what had been happening. She sat down with her father, a man she trusted more than anyone, and explained everything. The photo with the wrong date, the strange reactions from the people she knew, the eerie sense that something had shifted. Her father listened quietly, his face a mask of concern. When she finished speaking, he sighed deeply. "Lily," he said softly, "you've been through a lot lately. Your mom's death was hard on all of us, but it's been 2 years. Maybe you're still processing everything, and this is just your mind's way of coping." Lily's stomach churned. Her father didn't get it. No one did. They all thought she was crazy. With a heavy heart, Lily stood up and walked away from the table. She couldn't explain what was happening to her, at least not to anyone who didn't believe her. She was alone in this strange, unfamiliar world. And yet, deep down, she couldn't shake the feeling that the answers were out there, waiting for her to find them, if only she could understand how. Lily Hayes woke up in a parallel universe, and no one believed her. But what if she was the only one who knew the truth? This story is brought to you by Harmony Publishing, who is one of the top self-publishing companies out there. They make publishing easy, professional, and affordable. Just check the description for more information about them.